Good evening. Thank God they stopped. That's the chilling judgment from air safety investigators about the near catastrophe at Sydney Airport last week when two passenger planes almost crashed into each other on the runway.
The sources have told 7 News ongoing problems in the control tower at Mascot are a disaster waiting to happen, and today we tried to get answers from the man in charge.
Guest speaker at the Australian Aviation Summit at Sydney's Star Casino. And the last thing the Air Services Australia boss wants to talk about is a potentially catastrophic near miss.
Sorry, but you're talking about a safety incident we can't talk about. I'm happy to talk about anything else, which is probably you're not respecting it because you just asked a question specifically about it.
What Rob Sharp didn't want to speak to 7 News about was a terrifyingly close call on July 27 at Sydney Airport. Two Qantas planes within metres of colliding when one was cleared to taxi across the runway as another passenger jet was landing.
Thank God that both of those aircraft did stop prior to getting to that, I guess, that sort of intersection point. The potential for something far worse is certainly there.
7 News can reveal tonight the investigation is probing fatigue levels of the air traffic controllers. Staff in the Sydney Control Tower have reported suffering varying levels of exhaustion.
It's actually quite a small portion of our shifts would be deemed to be fatiguing, and we work with the individual staff impacted.
Sydney Airport has recently been plagued with flight delays blamed on air traffic control staffing, even today.
Some delays and disruptions to our operation. Cause of these disruptions is due to air traffic control restrictions.
We've been concerned for quite some time about Air Services Australia's ability to staff their air traffic control towers.
We're 0.1% of delays.
But in a letter obtained by 7 News, the airline lobby group claimed on one day alone there were more than 60 flight cancellations and delays of up to 2 hours, all blamed on traffic control issues, saying this has become an almost weekly disruption. All of this is now part of the Australian Transport Safety Bureau's investigation.
We do know that there has been some significant stresses on the entire ecosystem. Our job is to understand whether any of those stresses played a role in what occurred last Monday.
While the investigation findings won't be available for another 8 weeks, the ATSB says that what happened here last Monday has given the entire aviation industry a wake-up call.
When something like this occurs, it does give you that moment to pause and make sure, is everything that I'm doing today to the very best of my ability?
Clementine Cuneo, 7 News.
Well, let's cross live to Emily Francis at Sydney Airport, where hundreds of passengers have been delayed in just the last few hours. Emily, these flight issues once again being blamed on air traffic control.
Yes, Angie, a number of flights both in and out of Sydney have been pushed back this evening, impacting Qantas, Virgin and Rex. Some passengers have even been forced to wait around for around an hour before their flights have eventually been cancelled. 7 News understands all of this is due to ongoing restrictions put in place by Air Services Australia. In just the past 10 days, thousands of passengers have been left stranded during peak periods, impacting airports across the country. Tonight's delays are expected to last well into this evening.
Emily Francis, thank you.
A man's been stabbed in a sickening broad daylight attack in Western Sydney. He was forced to shelter in a barber shop as his alleged attacker fled, prompting a 3-hour manhunt across Lalor Park.
A fight at Lalor Park shops spirals out of control. What happens next? Too graphic to show. A 53-year-old stabbed in the back of the neck just after 11 a.m, stumbling into a barber shop where staff give him first aid.
They sustained a number of stab wounds.
Seconds later, the alleged knifeman is seen walking across the road towards a unit block. Police not far behind, the complex surrounded from all angles.
I saw the helicopters hovering around my house. I could hear them say, like, open the door and stuff like that.
Going from unit to unit before a 38-year-old is hauled outside taken to Blacktown Police Station.
After 3 hours, police have now arrested their man. Dozens of tactical officers swarming the area. The investigation now turning to what caused this stabbing.
The 53-year-old rushed to Westmead Hospital.
Ambulance and police provided first aid. Man is in serious but stable condition.
Businesses still reeling at just how quickly this violence erupted right outside their front doors. Nick Overall, 7 News.
The judge in the trial of Alan Jones has finally lifted a non-publication order revealing 2 days of explosive evidence with claims the case against the 85-year-old is motivated by a chase for cash. Lawyers for the former broadcaster say the sordid sex assault allegations were fabricated to force a financial payout.
After days of digging into the alleged history of former radio star Alan Jones...
Mr Jones, how do you feel about day 4?
The 85-year-old came to court to see someone else's past get grilled today. His alleged victim. Complainant Jay, who claimed a visit to Jones's Fitzroy Falls farm 20 years ago ended in bathrobes and multiple sex assaults. His story and credibility challenged by Jones's barrister, revealing the former teen athlete who became a police officer had a troubled record. A charge of assault, misuse of police ID, driving infringements, suspensions and drink driving. He lost his $110,000 a year police job. You were experiencing extreme financial pressure, had to move in with your mother and were in danger of addiction. That was May 2024. 7 months later, Jones was arrested.
Did you do it?
Jones's lawyer suggesting complainant Jay saw a chance to get rich quick by suing Jones. Did you see the opportunity there for something life-changing for you? An opportunity to get money from Mr. Jones? I think I've been very clear. I don't want anything but proper justice, he replied. Soon after the arrest, complainant Jay sent a message to his girlfriend. Once this is all over, I promise to look after you. That's a reference to looking after her financially, asked Jones's lawyer. I'm not after his money, he said. I won't sell the story. I'm here because I want to do the right thing.
Complainant Jay is one of 6 men making the sex assault allegations. The legal strategy from Jones's team is likely to be the same for each one. Interrogate their stories, dig through their past, looking for holes and flaws.
Barrister Bashir today arguing Jay had frequently changed his story, saying the kiss from the 2GB host was a peck in his police statement, but telling this judge-alone trial it was sloppy and chomping. She called his testimony a sham, a false account, concocted, a fabrication.
That's all over.
Jay's cross-examination will likely finish tomorrow. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Pauline Hanson has blamed Australia's struggles with homelessness on migration. The One Nation leader claims a surge in arrivals means fewer Australians are able to put a roof over their heads. Those comments blasted by Labor as stupid and divisive.
Struck by the growing number of Australians sleeping rough.
It is a crying shame in a perceived country like us that's supposed to be wealthy that we have families living in tents, and especially children.
The cause, she says, excessive migration that she would slash.
My concern is for those Australians that can't get a roof over their head and a decent standard of living and way of life.
The government and economists warn, though, that her deep cuts would cause a skills crisis, ignite social unrest and potentially tank the economy, running businesses out of business.
I don't care what people think, whether, it's going to affect their businesses. They're not going to sell that many products, or the universities, because they won't have the number of foreign students coming in here. I don't care.
In the Western Sydney seat of Fowler, held by independent MP Di Lee, herself a refugee, 77% of parent couples were both born overseas. The area's biggest employers, food and textile manufacturers.
Predominantly, when you go into a factory, they're all migrants working in there. Those are the people that are building the nation.
Homelessness is a growing problem in Australia, with an average of 3,000 people seeking help every hour. But the government says in blaming migration, Pauline Hanson is simply dog whistling.